Hey, Scotty here. So, we recorded this back in November, around the end of November, and with all the end of the year game stuff we've been doing, we just hadn't had time to edit it and get it out until now. You can tell by Daniel's sweater that this is old. So, anyway, here we go. What's up, everybody? Brochio here, and we got another powwow coming at you. This one's about Baldur's Gate 3. I would say this is probably the longest amount of time I've spent in it. No, Zelda. Zelda for sure. This is the second largest amount of time I've spent in a game this year. But it was fun for the most part, and turn-based RPGs are not typically my thing.
Is it turn-based?
Yeah, it's turn-based.
I did not know that.
Oh.
It's like...
I thought it was like Witcher RPG
No, it is turn-based and very strategic. Like, it's not like a...
Made my dick hard a little bit.
It's not like a strategy game, but like the combat is very much like actual Dungeons and Dragons, where like you have to worry about placement and movement speed and like where everyone is, and it's a lot, and it was a lot to get used to. But it was very fun once it started to click.
I know I saw one thing that was really funny. Like when it first released, somebody walked into a room and failed a perception check, and they were just like, "Oh no, what's in here? I can't even see it."
It's the same feeling as when you're playing Dungeons and Dragons. It's just like, roll a perception check for me. Oh, you don't notice anything. You're like, oh.
Can't you just keep doing perception checks?
Not in this game.
Okay.
And like,
could you like leave the room and come back in, or would it still be?
You can come
applied?
in with. I think you can come in with party members that hadn't been in that room and try that with them. But I think any party member that walked past it, he's just not there.
Interesting.
Do status effects work like they do in D&D? Like poison is weird in D&D.
Poison is the disadvantage thing, not the damage thing.
Okay.
So they mostly work like that. But you do have poison damage, also. But it's condition and damage are separate.
Okay.
But a few things are different. Like they added like the wet condition, which makes lightning hit you critically, like critical hit with lightning, if they're wet and stuff like that.
That's
So
the
like,
1-2 punch.
Yeah.
Yeah, the
Like
1-2
from
punch from
Bioshock.
Bioshock. If they're standing in the water, if something's wet, you could throw a sack of water at them or whatever. Or if you're a sorcerer or something, you can do the
Create
water on top of them. Lightning strike.
Ooh.
I did it a lot because I made my cleric into a Tempest cleric, and I would do Sleet Storm and then lightning.
Okay. Can
cool.
we establish that condition in our playthrough?
I'm thinking about it.
Like,
I'm thinking
that sounds
There's
cool.
certain
That does
rules from
sound
Baldur's
cool.
Gate 3 that they did it more to make it more of a fun video game, but some of them are like, those are cool and they can stay. But anyway, I'm going to start with the negatives, and I'm going to keep it as spoiler-free as I can for now. I'm going to start with the negatives and with the positives in both spoiler-free and spoiler section, but overall, Baldur's Gate 3 is awesome. I took a chance on it, because like I said, I'm not really the turn-based kind of guy, despite, Chrono Trigger being, for the longest time, my favorite game of all time. And probably still I don't know, that and Tears of the Kingdom are just so competitive right now for the title. But, this one was... I like Dungeons and Dragons so much, I had to try it. And I really wanted another Mass Effect-y, like, deeply character-driven, choice-driven RPG. And that's exactly what this is. And, basically, my negatives are Act 3 got a little bit glitchy, and it felt very long. And that's the only act where you're actually in Baldur's Gate, and it was so boring in comparison. Because, like, Act 1 and 2, you're in, like, this forest, and then you're at this other thing that I'll get into later, that it was a lot cooler than just, like, yeah, this is a city.
So was it one of those things where it's like the journey is a lot more fun than the mission?
Yeah, pretty much, because, like, I'll get more into it in spoilers, but basically Act 3 had some really cool parts, but it was like, buh. Like, it felt, it was a slog. Like, it didn't feel like nearly as much as an adventure. And also, like, I don't know. I'll get into it later. But, most of the character endings were, to me, a little lackluster, because they all have their little, like, loyalty quest or whatever. And a lot of them were cool. And it may have been the choices I made that made them lackluster, but I know for a fact some of them are like widely by the like whole fan base are like, yeah, they did not follow through well with this. Because like some of them are just like, yeah, it's over now, I guess. But some of them, but also some of them are climactic and awesome. But there's a few that are just like, this happened.
Yeah, you kill the final boss. You're just like, all right, bye.
I'll get more into that later too. Well, yeah, the actual ending was kind of just like basically that. It's just like, yeah, adventure's over, bye. And
oh wow!
The announcer was kind of cool because it basically acts like a DM. So like the announcer, like when you roll,
was it someone famous?
No, I mean she might be a famous like voice actor, but I never really heard of her before. But
I was imagining it was like the Stanley Parable guy or something.
Like no, it's just
Chris Pine.
It's some lady. She does a very good job, but it'll be like if you're having a conversation and you roll and you notice like their eye twitch or something, it's like he's lying, basically, and all this kind of stuff. So the narrator kind of acting like a dungeon master was really cool, and one of the major villains, the first two were really cool, and this guy was just real lame. And I'll get into it later. His fight was just the worst, and it was so easy, and it was just bad. Everything about it was bad. I hated him. And he was such a manipulative piece of shit that I wanted to enjoy killing him more, but it just sucked. But anyway, that's about it for spoiler free, because this is a heavily story-based game, so I'm about to get spoilery as hell.
Thank God, because I just read your notes, and I am highly intrigued.
I think I know which one you're intrigued about. But, okay, so I'm going to give an example of the combat and strategy I'm talking about, because, like, at a certain point, you're powerful enough where it's you can kind of just hit everything. But at the beginning of the game, I was not, and I had to bump it down to easy mode, and they were still kicking my ass. Wow. It's probably just, like I said, a play style I'm not used to, and I'm maybe not understanding the conditions and strategies enough. But they're, like, the first fight that really kicked the shit out of me was I'm in this goblin base, and I don't know who these people are. They might have dialogue but they just attack on sight. So they may not even have dialogue or anything. But their leader's basically this giant barbarian that can pretty much one-shot anyone in my party, because it was me. I played as a paladin. I was the heavy hitter, because I had me, there was the rogue, had my cleric, who I had not respected to a Tempest cleric yet. She was a trickery cleric, no heavy armor for a trickery cleric, and I had a wizard. So one hit for everybody. No, did I have Karlach yet? I did not have the barbarian yet. I don't think. If I did, I didn't have her out. I don't know. But I was fighting this guy, and the strategy I came up with, and it worked, was I had everyone dash and climb into the rafters. And anytime they came up one of the ladders, I had my paladin waiting, and he would just shove them back off. And they would say, most of the people died when I did that if I succeeded. But I managed to throw the barbarian back down, or push him back off, and it took out like half his health.
Wow.
And then while he was climbing back up and walking back over, because he had to go a long way to the ladder, it was just like pelting him with spells and arrows the whole way back up. And like, I threw a lot with my paladin, because like that's the only range options you really have. I'm just throwing like javelins, and they're throwing spells. And I was just like guiding bolts and fire bolts and shit. And then he managed to get back up and had like 2 HP left, and I was just like, bonk! Dead. So like you can cheese stuff like that with the right terrain, and it was so fun to do. And I didn't have the rogue for very long, because once I realized the barbarian could just smash through every door and chest if I played my cards right, I was like, I don't really sneak around, and I didn't quite understand the sneaking mechanics in this game, so I didn't really mess with it, because I wasn't having fun trying to figure it out. But that was honestly like one of the better characters in the game, and I kind of regretted not having him around because the voice acting was so good. But the barbarian, like, legitimately, if she couldn't smash the chest, she could smash every door I came across unless it was like magically sealed or something. But if I couldn't smash the chest, I would have her pick it up and it just goes into your inventory. She's not like lugging it around. But then I would climb to like the top of a roof, throw it down, and it shatters anyway. So I didn't really need lockpicking or anything.
Did you have to worry about like weight for carrying?
Yeah, you get encumbered and stuff like that, but basically...
Is it like Skyrim where you just can't run?
Yeah, you can't run, and I think your movement speed's halved in combat.
Oh,
But,
okay.
so it's a detriment, but your main character's going to pick up most everything. So, like, I would transfer stuff between people, and you can send it straight to camp and stuff if you don't want to hold on to it. So, like, but the Barbarian was hardly holding anything and had a very high strength. So, she could carry around all the chests and stuff. But, I'm going to get more into the characters now, but that was just the best example I could think of for combat strategy, because, like, once I started getting higher level, I could just kind of, like, the right place, and maybe just grasping the system better. It was just, like, right placement, right attacks. Because, like, there weren't that many after that shoving off the cliff that were... I shoved most people off cliffs when I could. But it wasn't, like, just the rafter strategy over again.
Yeah.
So, but shoving's just a bonus action. So most of the time, if I didn't have a bonus action to do, I was just like... But, one rule I do want to carry over is you can just lob healing potions at people. And it breaks and, like, heals them.
That's awesome.
That's really cool.
But I think you can, if you hit them with it, it hurts them too. So you might do. I heard something about that, but I never really experienced it. But so the characters are all pretty awesome. The rogue I was talking about, his name's Asterion. He's a high elf, I think, but he's also a vampire.
Oh.
So he can walk around. None of the vampire rules really super apply to him right now, because at the beginning of the game you're on a mind flayer ship. Your character is, pretty much all of them are, and they put all these little tadpoles that crawl into your character's eyeball.
Yeah, you showed me that.
And get behind it, and they are supposed to turn you into a mind flayer. They do that, and then I guess they wait a certain amount of time, put you in this pod, boom, you're a mind flayer now, part of the hive mind and everything. But that didn't happen to your characters because, and for other reasons I'll get into later, but mainly because as the Mind Flayer ship is going across this city, snatching up people and mind flayering them, a bunch of fucking dragons come out of astral space through these portals with Githyanki riding on their backs and start attacking the ship. Githyanki, they're a playable race in 5e. They look kind of like weird, like frog lizard people or something. And they have the like pushed up noses. They look kind of like late stage Michael Jackson.
Yeah.
But anyway, they're
isn't that what the sexy lady is? Like
she's
the one everybody like was talking about sex with?
Yeah.
I mean, she is a romance partner. And, well, they're all romance partners, and that's one of my negatives I forgot to write down. Everyone's just too fucking horny. Like, it's way too... It's harder to not romance people than it is to romance them.
Oh, wow.
So, like,
there's nothing to do. Like, I need sex.
I was like, I didn't want to break these people's hearts. I didn't want to do it. I thought I was just sitting down with the wizard guy to, like, chill, and he was just like, hey, baby, basically. I was like, no. And he was like, well, you. Not really. They're mostly, like, kind of like, oh, okay.
Oh, I was hoping it was, like, real life, just like, okay, bitch, just...
But no, the wizard...
You were ugly anyway.
The wizard guy, like, he's just chilling. And he's got a really cool story, too. They all have... Well, you don't have to create your own character. You can pretty much play as any of these characters.
Oh, that's cool.
So, like, if you want to just quick playthrough, you can choose the wizard guy, or you can choose the cleric lady, or the vampire guy.
Do you get the wizard guy?
Yeah, you get them all in your party, or you can create your own character.
Can you use them as a template and then, like, adjust it?
Don't know, I didn't try.
Oh.
I went straight up with my first D&T character, a gnomish paladin named Gimbal. That's straight up where I went. I tried Oath of Devotion, it kind of sucked, so I went with Oath of the Ancients because it got a lot of cooler spells. But, anyway, so, where was I? Oh, the Mind Flayer ship. So, the Mind Flayer piloting the ship was trying to get the hell out of Dodge, and he ended up, like, teleporting to the Arctic, but the dragons are following. And then some of the dragons, like, crashed into a mountain or whatever. And then he ended up teleporting into Avernus, the first level of the 9 hells. Oh, God. And that's where the ship crashed. So these dragons took this ship to hell, and it crashed, and it's like... mind flayers fighting a demon now.
Yeah,
well,
is it just Doom now? Like
it was for that mind flayer, but you're just traversing the ship, and like you have the lizard lady that I guess you were talking about. Everyone wants to bang. It's like, you're a mind flayer, and my guy. I think I said something like, yeah, so are you, but we're not transformed. She's like, good point. You fight good. Let's go, or something like that. And you run across this tube with the cleric girl in it, and she's like, help me out. And then the Lae'zel is the lizard girl's name. She's like, we don't have time for that shit. And I was like, yeah, we do. And let her out. And her name's Shadowheart, which is like, why? But I don't think... No, that's not her real name, but spoilers for later. But that's just what her god that she worships that erased her memories named her or whatever. But, so you... so you have these two now. So one is a fighter, one's a cleric. So I was pretty stacked, like, combat-wise. I was good. But you're fighting these little brain guys. I forget what they're called. The intellect devourers, and there's like a few weakened mind flayers around and stuff.
Are they insta-death in this game?
Not that I know of.
Okay.
But I may have just killed them too quick. But I don't know if you fight any weakened mind flayers in that spot. But anyway, you're traversing this ship, saving who you can, which is only those two people. So someone does get turned into a mind flayer in front of you.
Oh.
And then you have to fight the fresh baby mind flayer, so it was kind of weak. But so you get past all that, get out of the ship, and you're just you're on the deck of the ship or something, and this mind flayer's fighting a big old devil. And you can, if you try to help him fight, he's like, "What the f*** are you doing? I told you get to the controller ship thing." And I was like, alright. And I went and controlled the ship, and you have a certain amount of turns to do it, or I guess you die. I don't know.
Oh.
But so I got to the control center of the ship, and it teleports to this random-ass forest. I forget where. But somewhere nearby to Baldur's Gate, but not nearby, but not too far. I don't know. But, so you crash land in this forest. That mind flayer's under some rubble. You can choose to kill it or let it live. I killed it because it was like, you do? Fucking put a worm in my brain. So that's what ties all these characters together, is they all got the tadpole. And they're trying to figure out how to get it out. And as I was walking along, I came across this guy standing in the sun, like, what the is going on? And I went to talk to him, he tried to stab me. And I was like, what the guy? And chose to spare him. He's like, can I come with you? I was like, sure. You're a vampire. We don't know that yet, but totally you're a vampire.
Wait, you're standing in the sun?
Yeah.
What?
The tadpole makes him immune to pretty much all the vampire shit.
Oh. Whoa. So
he
doesn't want to be cured.
There's a cutscene I didn't get, but I've seen it, where apparently if you kill him with some special weapon that does a lot of radiant damage, it'll turn him to ash.
Oh, wow.
And he was like, if you can resurrect the people at camp, because there's this little zombie guy named Withers that you could just hey, I want to bring someone back from the dead, or I want to change my class, and you just pay him and he does it. And he's somebody very powerful in Baldur's Gate lore, but I didn't play Baldur's Gate 1 or 2, and I haven't looked that much into it. But you find him in a crypt, and he's like, I'll be at your camp. My services are provided for you. And you just have this zombie that's like, yeah, I'll bring him back. You want to change your class? Let's do it. But, so when he gets turned to ash, apparently you can bring him back. He's like, why would you do that? Why would you throw that thing when I was there? And one of the dialogue options is like, I thought you were good with sunlight. And he's like, well, apparently there's a limit somewhere between a nice summer's day and the power of the f***ing sun. Because I don't know what weapon or whatever it was, but evidently it was the concentrated power of the sun that you threw at him and it vaporized.
Wow, that's hilarious.
That's the only dialogue I know of for getting someone killed. Maybe if you kill him and bring him back, personally kill him and bring him back, it would be, but anyway, so it starts out, the story is real good. I really like this story, and then eventually I ran into this guy named Will. He's a warlock, and he was kind of lame. I don't know, something about him. He was fine. He didn't do anything offensive, but I tried to use him once and he just sucked. And I never tried again, because I was like, I already have the paladin for the charisma guy. you don't really like. He didn't really fit what I was going for, so I was like, wizard's gonna be way more powerful than you. So I was like, I'll just stick with I had myself, cleric, wizard, and the rogue at the time. And then I ran across him. His whole thing, he calls himself the Blade of the Frontiers, and he like sold his soul, of course, because he's a warlock, and that's the whole thing, is dealing with his patron, which is this demon named Mazora. That like every now and again she'll pop up. She's like, Rule 3, Section 4. If the blah 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 blah, like it's very much like he has to do what she says.
Okay.
And she's just like, pal around with them or whatever. I don't know. But he shows up defending this camp of tieflings from these goblins. Then you beat all the goblins, and the tieflings let you in, and you're like, hey, what's going on? And they're like, these druids are being dicks and trying to kick us out of the forest. We'll just die. Because the druids like protect them or whatever. But they're kicking them out or something. I don't remember why. I think they're just throwing them out because like they think it's their fault that the goblins are getting more powerful or something. I don't remember. But the goblins are basically getting more powerful and more organized because they have leaders and they're basically in a cult now.
Oh, okay.
So you convince the druids to not be dicks, but they still need the tieflings to leave, but they're not going to like leave or we'll kill you, I think.
Okay.
So you talk the druids down, and there's a really big beefy druid named Halson that the goblins had captured, and he's a fucking elf, but he's like 6'5" and like completely jacked, but he has a strength score of 10 in game. It's weird. Like they did not go with like physical appearance, they just went with stats.
Oh wow.
But
I was about to ask, is 10 high?
I was gonna replace the wizard with the druid because the wizard kept fucking dying constantly because everybody has crossbows and would target him first every combat encounter. Like, sorry, what the f***'s his name? I forgot. But sorry, wizard. So I was really gonna get rid of him for a while, but then I tried the druid, and I don't know if I'm wrong here, but it seemed like he died very fast. I don't think it's like D&D where the creature HP does not affect your HP, because it seemed like he went from losing all his creature HP and then he was half health. Because like normally druids, once the creature goes to 0, you're back to your original HP.
Yeah.
But in this game, it seems like it carries over or something. And if so, that's really lame, and I got rid of him. I don't know if that's the case, but I was like, you're also not as powerful as this guy. This guy might go down easy, but he also has Fireball.
Yeah.
So, you pulled the wizard out of a portal that he's trapped in. That was fun. I don't know what the deal was with that. It's like there's these fast travel portals, and he was just stuck in one. But his whole thing is he found a sliver of what he thought was the weave, which is the source of all magic. And turns out it was like a false one that some guy made to try to be a god or something at some point. But it got absorbed into his chest. And he has to feed it magic items or else it'll like kill him and explode.
I heard about that guy.
And by his estimations, it could destroy the city of Waterdeep with the explosion, like how big it would be.
Oh wow.
So like this guy's a walking nuke that you have to give all your trash magic items to that you don't want, and he just absorbs the magic off of them. And he's like, it's still hungry and shit like that. But then eventually, like, you find out he was like f***ing a goddess at some point. And she's all mad at him because he f***ed with magic or something. And but she basically gives him this thing that like contains
he was
it.
Banging a goddess.
Yeah, he was banging a goddess.
I didn't know if it...
I thought you were describing him being a goddess.
He was he was banging a goddess, and then like he found the magic thing, and she was like, "Well, you shouldn't have done that," and broke up with him or whatever.
Okay.
And so he was like, kind of trying to redeem himself for her, I think. But then eventually he's like, "I don't care." But then she gave him this thing that like basically will like hold it to where he doesn't have to worry about that anymore. So it's not a constant magic items for him the whole game.
Oh, that's cool.
But it could have been. You find him around every corner, and it's like, well, I don't need this one. Like, there you go.
Can he still eat them if he doesn't need to?
Not that I know of. But also before that, they gave him something to contain it, but he could trigger it at any time if he wanted to. So you could just send him somewhere by himself and nuke the place if you wanted to.
Wow.
Oh wow.
But cool. I did it on accident once, and I was just dead. But anyway, his story ends with
Does he die?
He can. Anyone can. You
When
can
it
just,
nukes.
Yeah, he dies.
Okay.
Okay.
So can you send him someplace to blow up and then just keep resurrecting him?
I don't know. But there's a few issues like that with the story. That it's him and the barbarian girl, who's named Karlak, and she's my favorite. She's a tiefling and she's real big, but she's got that. She was like basically like a slave, like gladiator warrior in Avernus for this demon lord. And the demon lord had her heart taken out and replaced with an infernal engine, so she's just constantly got like a magic engine in her chest, and she might burn up at any time.
Oh.
So she's so that sucks. But she burnt it. You get some stuff to like calm it down a little bit, but it's still like you can't. The guy that does that is basically like you can't cure it. Like you have to basically either go back to Avernus or explode and die, but not like in a nuke way. She'll just kind of like incinerate herself. And she's just like, well, fuck Avernus. I'll just die then. But she's the best, and she hits like a truck. I did wild magic barbarian with her, and it was very fun. And they make it feel like a superpower every time she rages, because she like screams and like cracks and like lava looking cracks in the ground like form around her for a minute, and like it was cool. It hits like a damn truck every time. Even without the rage, she was very powerful. So eventually, I missed a big chunk of the game where fighting like a witch in the swamp or something. I never even came across that.
Oh,
but I got to the Goblin Fortress.
But you platinumed it.
No, I did not.
Oh, I thought you did.
No, I did not. You have to beat it on like tactician mode and stuff like that. I'm not doing that. That's like crazy hard mode.
Well, never mind.
But so me, the cleric, the barbarian, and the wizard, we all went to the Goblin Fortress, and they were all like, "Hey, you guys got tadpoles too. We're cool." Because like they were worshiping this god called the Absolute, and the tadpoles can kind of psychically communicate with each other, or you can use the tadpole to like read people's thoughts and shit. So the goblins knew you had tadpoles, so they thought you were part of the cult, and we were like, yeah, we'll play it cool. And they had this. Oh, forgot, I killed this owl bear, and then its baby came out, and I was like, oh no. And they were like, yeah, we can either leave it or it might starve to death or whatever.
Like came out of a cave, or it like birthed?
No, it was in the cave with its mom.
Okay.
But I killed the mom, and I was like, well, I'm not going to kill that too. It's big. It can live. It can survive. And then but the goblins had captured it. And we're like using it to like play some game, to like race or something like that. Because normally they would race chickens or something weird, but it ate all the chickens. And there was a Fable reference in there about being a chicken chaser. I don't remember exactly, but they said something about chicken chasing. But you race the owlbear and win and get all the goblin money. And that's what I did, because the goblin tried to cheat me out of it and was like, I'm not paying you, you're not a goblin. And I was like, you can either pay me in gold or blood or something like that. And she was like, okay. And then I told the owlbear I did like, told. But like you can do like an animal handling check and be like, hey man, just go to my camp. And the owlbear won't leave till the goblins are all dead, basically, because it's scared. Or not. Did I say owlbear or goblin? Anyway. So you get a pet owlbear at your camp, baby owlbear, and you get a dog named Scratches. And he was around his dead owner, and that was sad. But if you do speak with animals, you can talk to them, so that's cool. Oh. But so I end up going to this.
Voiced?
Yeah.
Is it like an awful voice, like Gilbert Gottfried or something?
Which one?
The dog.
Well, neither of them are. The dog just sounds like normal, like a dude, and the owlbear sounds kind of like a kid.
I was hoping it would just be a terrible voice.
Hey, thanks for getting me out of here!
He was like, oh, turn Speak with Animals off.
Yeah.
But, so I went to the Goblin Priestess, and she was like, hey, I can't get that tadpole out of your head, because that's the whole goal, is you went there to get the tadpole out of your head. Hopefully she could do it. She's like, no, I can't do that. And then I was like, but you want to help us, like, kill the tieflings or whatever? And you can choose to do it. You can choose to, like, help the goblins go kill all the tieflings. And the druids and shit, but like that's evil playthrough stuff. I don't know. But and from what I've heard, it's not worth it. From what I've heard, you lose out on a lot of the cool party members because they're like, you're a dick. No, I'm good and stuff like that. But,
do you pick your alignment, or do you just have an alignment based on your choices?
I think I didn't have an alignment to choose from that I know of, at least. But So after I talked to the priestess, it's like, nah, bitch, you gotta die. And she was like, all right, and you kill her. And all these other goblins come in, and that's when I learned that they have like horns that they can blow for reinforcements. So that sucked. So every time I was like about to fight, I went and destroyed all the goblin horns. But then I found this like drow, like dark elf priestess, or no, cleric, and she was like, she said something, I don't remember. I killed her too. I killed them all. I killed every goblin in that place except one I set free because she wasn't part of the cult. She was just like, she was preaching their old religion, and they put her in a cage pretty much. I just let her go. She wasn't a threat. She was fine. But then cleared out the goblin base, and I think that's where the boss I was talking about was, because I think I got... No? I don't know. Anyway, because I had the barbarian by that point, but I don't know. Anyway, clear out the goblin base, and then it was time for Act 2, baby. Got to Act 2, and... wait, was it? Anyway, I don't know if it was Act 1 or 2 when I went to the Underdark. But I got to the Underdark, and that's like this cool, like, underground, like, society place, and it was full of, like, these mushroom people. And, the good one, like, would take the, like dead or dying people and basically, like, put spores in them and add them to his village. So it's just all these, like, mushroom zombies walking around.
Yeah,
but there was this one fat one, I forget his name, and he was just like, my colony was destroyed. And he's from a different colony. And if you go kill all the evil dwarves that killed his colony, and they're also slavers, they're capturing deep gnomes to enslave them. So, of course, my guy's like, you. But, so we killed all them and went back and told him, and he was like, good, now help me kill the leader of this colony and take over. And I was like, no, and then I had to kill him. So I was like, okay, well, that sucked. But I'm just farting around in the Underdark for a while, and that was fun because we had to sneak into this place called Moonrise, which is cursed with, which has something called the Shadow Curse over it for like 200 years. And that was fun because, like, you can't just go into most areas because it'll slowly drain your health and you'll die. So, except for the cleric, because she worships the goddess she worships, protects her from that. But so you have to find this. You have to find a lantern with a fairy in it, and I think you could just keep the lantern, but I let the fairy out, and it gave me like a permanent like cure for that, so I could just walk freely.
Oh, cool.
But so I did all that, and the Shadow Curse lands were really damn cool. And the Tieflings from Act 1 got captured and got taken to the tower in Moonrise. So I had to go fight them, and you find out there's this guy named Ketheric Thorm that was alive, I think, in the other Baldur's Gate games. And he's, like, immortal now because he worships the god of death. And, like, it's, like, people, like, stabbing him and stuff, and he's just fine. He's cool. But, so eventually I find my way through Moonrise Towers, and after that, I gotta go fight him. His name's Ketheric Thorm, and he's voiced by J.K. Simmons.
Oh.
So, had to fight him, and he sounded so burnt out, like he was just so tired. He just wanted to see his daughter again, that's why he's doing all this crap. And, but while I was going through the town to get to him, I think it was to get to Moonrise Towers, I found this f***ing, like, gold man in a toll house, and he was like, give me all your gold, and, like, saying all this shit, like, still collecting tolls, but he's like a ghost or something now. But I convinced him to kill himself. Instead of fighting him. Because, like, I tried to fight him the first time. Oh, no, he fought me because I didn't have enough gold. And he one-shotted, like, everybody.
Oh, wow.
And I had, like, 600 HP. And I was probably, like, 50 HP at the time. I was like, there's no way. So then convinced the next dialogue option, I just did the persuasion or intimidation or something. And convinced him that there was no gold to be had. And he was like, but I have to collect the gold! And then died. And then I got, like, so much gold out of that place because, like, he died and gold exploded everywhere.
Oh, wow.
And I got a ton of gold and a Morning Star that I used for most of the game. That, like, if they had, like, over 300 gold, it did, like, triple damage or some crazy shit. It was real. Wow. It was a nice Morning Star. I abandoned it later for one that did, like 3 radiant damage with every strike or something. But for a while, that was mine. And then I finally get to fighting Ketheric Thorm. And I convince him to kill himself. So, I don't know how often you can do that to these bosses, but he's one of one called the Dead Three, and he's one of the 3 I was talking about where the third one was lame. But they worship the 3, like, bad gods from Baldur's Gate 1 and 2 or something. But I convinced him to kill himself, but then an avatar of death from the death god, Merkel, I think his name was, pops out, and you have to fight it. So either way, there's a fight, but I don't know if it was like a Saren situation from Mass Effect, where if you don't convince him to kill himself, you have to fight him too.
Yeah.
But also, it threw him out, like, so I could loot him. Because he jumped in this hole, and I was like, oh, that was cool armor. But then it threw him back up, so I got the armor.
Like the hole is just like, bleh, I don't like it.
Yeah, pretty much. So I got his armor, kicked his ass, and then, his god's ass or whatever, adversary's god, and then it's on to Act 3. This is where the game falls apart a little bit. It had some cool moments, like the one you're probably curious about. So I was trying to solve this clown went missing named Dribbles, and like,
ew, that's a gross name for a clown.
So I was talking to this I was talking to the necromancer that runs the weird circus, and like it's like fucking like ghouls and stuff everywhere. It's a weird circus, imps and stuff. But then then I went to the Dribble show, and it's like, yo, come here, and it was like the absolute reign supreme, and like, oh, it started attacking you. So it was like, f*** you, Dribbles, and it was like a changeling or something. So like all these changelings came out, and they tried to free these monsters, but I unlocked the cage to some of their monsters, and the monsters came out and started attacking them. But then they were attacking us too, so I had to kill them.
Oh, but that's still cool.
Yeah,
like
so
Far Cry.
Yeah, like Far Cry, kind of, and then like killed that, and then like I found Dribble's like hand on him or something, and it was like, well, Dribble's is dead, but let's
Dribbles
on fake Dribbles, yeah. Or no, you find the hand somewhere in the circus, and it's like you have to find the necromancer's like, well, I want Dribbles back. Find me the rest of his body. So I found the rest of his body. She reanimates Dribbles.
Oh,
but that was way later that I did all that. But so that was the cool part of Act 3. And then when you get into Baldur's Gate, I guess there's just too many people or something. I don't know. It got really like buggy, and like my least favorite bug, but also the most hilarious, was like my character's not bald. But for some reason,
starting a sentence like that.
My character's not bald, but when I would walk around in Baldur's Gate 3, unless if I had the camera too far away or something, my character's helmet would just float behind him, and I guess his hair stayed in it because it's completely bald. But when I zoom in the camera a little bit, it whoop, right back on. But like when I'm zoomed out too far, just my head just like a floating ass helmet back there with my hair in it. That was just so annoying. There were a couple others like my game crashed 2 or 3 times. Nothing super major, I guess, and just like pop in and stuff like that. But the rest of the game before that was mostly fine. But it's just like Act 3, I don't know what's going on there. But the Dribbles quest also led to a murder mystery, and the detective for Baldur's Gate, like one of I guess he's the private eye or something. They're like, yeah, go find this guy, and he'll tell you about the case. It's an angel. It's like a celestial. So it's an angel, elephant, alcoholic detective.
Wow.
So he's like an elephant, like probably about 4 feet tall, just flying around with his ears. And he's just like,
he's Dumbo?
Yes! Or wings, I don't know. He's flying around, but he's a little bitty elephant. He's just like, oh, this city, just drinking. So it's just fucking weird. But you find, and then you solve the case or whatever, and he's like, yeah, you found Dribble, I don't know. But then later you see him in the Temple of Baal, which is the god of murder, because they need the blood of a celestial for their ritual, and you can set him free. He's like, thanks, kid, and like flies out of there.
Oh.
I think he gives you something, I don't remember. But that's where you fight the second of the Dead 3, which was also cool. Not as cool as Catholic Thorn, but it was this lady that could I think she was one of the playable changeling people, but you can't play as them in Baldur's Gate 3, but she was always changing into different forms, and she kidnapped one of your party members that wasn't in your party at the time. It was like, they will be sacrificed upon my altar. Shit like that. So you had to, if you released that person, then you had fifth party member in the fight with her, but she turned into this giant demon monster, and you had to fight her that way, and she had a bunch of her cult around her buffing her up, and they were also invincible, so you couldn't hurt them, so you just had to deal with the buffs.
Oh, wow.
But I found a way around it. You can't shove them because they have a ward around them, which I tried. I was like, I'll shove these bastards off the cliff because they're right on a cliff. But Thunder Wave worked. It didn't damage them, but it still launched them back, so I was just Thunder Waving them off the cliff. And then I killed her and killed the rest of the cult that was around. And now I had
basically like Fusro Da.
Kind of, yeah.
Force pushing them off the cliff.
Kind of, yeah.
Because you're not doing any damage, or...
It didn't do any damage, but I guess the fall did.
It just knocked them dead.
Yeah.
I guess the fall did. I don't know. They might just be down there. But you have to collect these stones, and each of the Dead 3 has one that's controlling an Elder Brain that they have under Baldur's Gate. Elder Brain is the leader of the Mind Flayer societies.
Oh, okay.
So I got Ketheric Thorm's Nether Stone, and now I've got hers. And there's one motherfucker named Gortash. I hate him. He sucks. He's one of the worst bosses in the game. So Ketheric Thorm is here's the embodiment of the god of death for his boss fight. Here's the god of murder turning this person into a giant monster. This guy has a mansion full of traps and he casts Enlarge on himself. That's the fight. So it was so easy. It was so stupid. He was he was a little shit. It was just so deflating. I was like, the third of the Dead 3, let's do this. And he was just like, I'm slightly bigger. All right. Great. So now they're all dead. And time to fight the Nether Brain, baby. Or the whatever I said. Elder Brain. But the crown it had, the Crown of Karsus, turned it into a Nether Brain. Whatever. But there's this other character called the Emperor that's a Mind Flayer that broke away from the Hive Mind. Mm-hmm. And this was probably a bigger plot twist for people who played the other Baldur's Gates. But it's actually Baldurin who founded Baldur's Gate, is this Mind Flayer that broke free. But he calls himself the Emperor because that was his nickname or whatever. But he's the one keeping you from turning into a Mind Flayer altogether. Wow. And he's in this little jewel that the cleric carries around in a little pocket dimension or something.
The whole time?
Yeah. And he's talking to you and stuff, and he's kind of a manipulative asshole, and if you don't do things his way, he gets pretty pissed off. But, so he gives you this special tadpole to eat that gives you Mind Flayer powers. And I didn't do it because you can full on turn into a Mind Flayer in this game if you want to.
Oh,
and it was pretty cool, but I was like, that's not the story that I want my character to live out. So you can full on turn Mind Flayer if you want, or you can go half Mind Flayer and have some of the powers, but you just have some veins. You're not a squid.
I was about to say, do you grow just a tentacle mustache?
You're very vain. It's kind of like being evil on Fable. You just get kind of ugly.
You get stanky.
No, you're not. You just have veins everywhere. It's weird. But
it's like Fable.
Yeah. The actual ending, you beat the Nether Brain, which that's what it's called in the final battle, because the Crown of Karsus, which is how they were controlling it, I guess it absorbed some of his power or something. I don't remember. You fight the Nether Brain. It was kind of a cool fight. It had a dragon, so you had to deal with a dragon and get to this portal.
What about a dungeon?
It was in a dungeon. No, it was above the dungeon because it was a skyscraper ass tall at this point. But you climb up to it, and you're fighting it, and you have to kill all its Mind Flayers around it, and there's a dragon to deal with. But also, all the allies you gathered, you can, summon. So it's not just you, and you don't have to control them. They take their own turn. But you summon them, and it's this big fight, and you teleport into the Nether Brain's, consciousness, and you have to destroy its consciousness to kill it. So you and the Emperor do that, and my choices at least. You can full-on, free this guy that the Emperor is controlling or has captive, or you can let him eat his brain and gain his power. So I was like, I don't know this guy. I eat his brain, I guess. But then he's a Githyanki guy, and your Githyanki person gets all mad about it because she had to basically betray her queen because she found out her queen was lying, and she was like, I'll just serve this guy. And then you're like, well, he's don't got a brain. Now he's dead. So she's like, now what the fuck do I do? And I thought it was a good ending for her because I was like, just pal around with me. We'll fight them as they come. And she was like, all right. I didn't romance her. I romanced Shadowheart, but only because I missed my chance with Karlach. So I was gonna romance Karlach, but apparently you have to find some way to cool her off and give her a hug in Act 1. Which I did not do, so I just missed the boat on that one. The one that's hard to romance The one that's hard to romance. And I didn't because everyone else was like, man, we've been journeying together so long. It's like, dude, I put you in camp and haven't talked to you. What are you talking about? Halcyon? That's the beefy druid. He's like, you want to And he's like, I was like, dude, what the But anyway, so Halcyon didn't really get too much of a character arc. He just wanted to free the Shadowlands from the curse. He did that. But like the vampire guy, he's a thrall, not a full vampire. And you have to go kill his vampire daddy. And then you can either choose to let him become the demigod vampire that his vampire daddy was going to become.
Oh.
Or let him be cool and not... Because you have to... This guy, this piece of shit, kept all of the people that they brought him. They thought he was just like insatiably hungry. But him and his like other like vampire brothers or whatever would bring in these people. And this guy would turn him into a vampire and just stick him in a cell forever. And then he was going to use them to absorb all their souls and become like a demigod or something.
Oh, wow.
And he was going to basically be a more powerful vampire that could ignore all the vampire rules like daylight and shit. So you can let your guy do that, but he basically loses all of what makes him himself if you do. So like he's just like a kind of like instead of being a charming dick, he's just a dick or something. I don't know. I didn't do it because it was like, that's f***ed up, and Asterion feels sad about it, so I'm not going to let him do it. So you send all the vampires to the Underdark. You just, like, go there so no one will kill you. And then, the ending for Shadowheart, you can either, in the mid-game, you can let her become an avatar for her goddess Shar, or you can help her realize that goddess is full of shit and a bastard, and then she's like, f*** you, and then she worships, now she's, like, outcast from that sect, and you have to go to the sect and kill the Mother Superior and all the rest of them to end her story. Then you find her parents, and they're like, "F***ing kill us, please!" And you have to. Then she kills her parents.
That's the good ending?
Yes. Well, that's the only way
it's like, hey, your religion's all lies. Go kill it and your parents.
Well, if you don't kill it, they wanted you to because they wanted her to be free from the curse of Shar, which causes her immense pain every time she does something Shar doesn't like, which includes like helping people and shit, because Shar's a dick. But they basically like, we want you to be free of Shar, and do it. And like her parents are dead now, but they're all pretty cool with it. So and the ending for what's the wizard's name?
Wizrobe.
Orko.
The ending for Orko is basically the ending I got. They give him the nuke proof thing, and he's like, hey, if I get the Crown of Karsus, I can like utilize this and become a new god. And I was like, F it, man, do your thing. I trust you. I trust you to be a good god. Or you can like talk him out of it. I don't know if you can give it to him or not, but like the Elder Brain fell into the f***ing ocean. So he's like, I'll find it. And then he just leaves.
Okay.
So I guess he became a god later. I don't know. The ending for... I'll get to Karlach's last. That's the one that sucks. So not most of them suck. Will, in the middle of the game, kind of breaks one of the rules of his pact with the demon. And she like makes him grow horns and shit and makes him all disfigured looking. It's just horns. He just looks like a tiefling man. Except not like red or anything. But so you do that, and then she's like, then you can get him out of his contract, but in his contract it says he's still under contract for 6 months. Like it's a 6 months notice basically. And then she's like, I'll let you out of contract now, or I'll kill your father. I can't remember what deal she wanted, but I convinced him to be like, your dad was a dick though. And he was like, fine. And then he's out of the deal, but he can still keep the powers for 6 months. He just doesn't have to obey her.
Okay.
But then you can also do one of the coolest parts of the game, which is an underwater prison break, and free his dad anyway.
Oh. So
you go underwater in this cool little submarine, and Gortash, when he was alive, contacted you. He's like, hey, you dick. You can't do this. And then he explodes the place, and it starts flooding, so you have to get all these people out of there. And while you're being attacked by all these fishmen, and also the demon comes and starts attacking you because you're trying to do a loophole. So she sends all these exploding spiders straight for his dad. They don't even care about you. But what I had to do was I just used Dimension Door and teleported him all the way to the fucking ladder to get into the submarine. Once they're in the submarine, they're safe, they're fine. And then I just got my people out of there, and I lost Karlach that time. That's the one time I had a permanent death, because I just revivified everyone that died in combat. But she just died, so I went to Withers and brought her back. She was like, "Hey, soldier!" Like, nothing happened. But, so that's Will's ending, is he's free of his contract and he's got his dad. But Mizora, the demon lady, is kind of like, "I'll get him eventually," kind of thing. But, am I forgetting someone? There's a few I didn't get. But, anyway, Karlach's ending sucks, because you can't...
Who's Karlach?
The barbarian with the engine heart.
Okay, that's the one you like?
Yes, you can't cure her at all. And the endings are either let her burn up and die, or send her back to Avernus and we'll figure it out later. That's it.
So if you do the cool it off in chapter 1 and romance her, she still burns up?
Yeah.
Okay.
It can't cool off permanently. But being in Avernus makes it not want to explode. So I did the send her back to Avernus thing because Will came up. He's like, "Look, man, you won't be alone this time. I'll go with you." And you can offer to go with her, but I was like, I'm not just going to leave Shadowheart and go to hell for a while. Like, that's just weird. So it was like, call me anytime kind of answer I gave her. But her actual cutscene ending was pretty cool. Because she basically was like, "Well, I was saving these," and has 2 cigars and gives one to Will. And like snaps and lights her thumb on fire and lights it with her engine, I guess. I was like, what the f-? And she was just like, "Let's tell these motherfuckers I'm back." And then they started attacking all these imps. I was like, what? That was badass. I was like, that was insanely badass. And she's just like, "Let's let these motherfuckers know I'm back." But that was really cool. But it just, the fact that you don't get any kind of happy ending for her just sucked. Oh, and you get the mind tadpoles out of your head when the Elder Brain dies. But if you have Asterion, he starts like, his skin starts sizzling. He's like, oh, gotta go! And just runs off.
He's a vampire.
Yep, the vampire rules are back. But overall, the game's... Oh, and after you beat it, everyone just is like, "Okay, bye." And then it's like, the announcer comes up and it's like, kind of like how I'd imagine you'd end a campaign. It's just like, "You're the hero known round the world. You saved the millions of lives in Baldur's Gate." And all this kind of stuff. And then it's just over. Overall, the game was awesome. And I loved most of it. But Act 3, not even the glitchiness. Act 3 just dragged down the momentum a lot. And also, there's an army of undead and fiends and stuff marching on Baldur's Gate all of Act 3. But you're still just fucking around with this detective. And it made it feel a little weird. But, like, you don't fuck around with the detective for a while, but he was so weird that it stood out. But, like, it wasn't too bad of a, like, disconnect, but it was just like, isn't this army coming? Like, what am I doing? But, overall...
It's like in Zelda, it's just like, well, Hyrule is in a pivotal, like, downfall. Yeah. There's zombies everywhere.
Yeah, but I'm gonna go surf.
But let me catch these chickens and...
Yeah. But overall... Really, really incredible game. I would recommend at least trying it. It is very fun, and it is co-op if you wanted to play with somebody.
Oh. A co-op, like, RPG?
Yeah, you both, like, make your own characters or whatever, like...
Is it like double battles in Pokemon? Like,
no idea.
What does it play like?
No idea. But, it's very cool, it's very fun, the story's great, the characters are great. I loved most of it. I'd give it a 9 if it weren't for Act 3, so I'm going to bump it down to an 8 or an 8.5. I don't know if we do 8.5s.
No 0.5s.
Yeah. So...
Just like IGN.
Act 1 and 2, that's 9. Act 3 is like a 7, so I'm going to say probably an 8. But if they fix Act 3, that's a 9. But Act 3 just dragged it down way too much for my liking. Since recording, I changed my mind on this. At the time of this recording, I was pretty down about the bugginess of Act 3, but later on, I decided to up my score to a 9 because this game is fantastic. But overall, the game is excellent. I really, really liked it, and I'll be paying attention to whatever Larian Studios does next because it was really fun.
2 questions. Number 1, how long did it take you to beat it?
The game clock said it was close to 80 hours. It was like 79 or 75 hours or something.
Okay.
Okay.
But that was doing like almost everything I could.
And this is a 2-part question. I know it's D&D based. Are there dice rolls in it?
Yep. Like most of them happen invisibly, or you'll see it like above your character. But when you're like making a dialogue choice, a dice pops up and it shows all your modifiers and stuff.
Oh, okay.
And it shows like if you have, got to keep the cleric because she has a guidance cantrip that like gives you a plus D4 every time. But like, so you can roll, you can add all these bonuses, and it all like then the dice rolls, and all the bonuses have like glowy numbers that shoot into the dice and up the number, and like it's really cool. It's like not quite as satisfying as the clicky clacks of rolling real dice, but it's like as close as you're gonna get.
Okay.
I know I saw one thing that was funny about the dice roll where they were like, they had an option to be mad at a squirrel.
Yeah.
And they rolled a 20.
I missed that part somehow.
That squirrel just exploded when they kicked it.
Yeah, it was completely. I've seen that, and I completely missed it in the game. I don't know where it was. But anyway, Baldur's Gate 3. Highly recommend it. Even if you're not the biggest turn-based fan, neither am I. Maybe give it a shot.
What else?
We broke you.
Yeah.
All right.
See ya.
And we've been Brotrio. We'll see you next time.